Recently, I've been seeing a whole bunch of stuff go on inside and outside of the community, and a lot of people's views on the future in the world as it is today. Like, there's lots of things that go on, and usually I take a pretty optimistic tone to things, and that's how I view the world personally. And I like to impart that on you guys, but that doesn't stop people from being doomer. There are some people out there who just want to make you sad, and that's just basically it. They don't really have any more prescriptions. They just want to make you sad, because sad, angry, those sorts of feelings are really good at getting people to stick around and getting people to be emotionally invested in things. But none of those things actually help the situation that you're really mad about. It reminds me back during the 2020 election, okay? We were streaming it live, all of the results on election night, watching the results pour in, watching some states go to Biden, watching some states go to Trump. It seems like during that, while things were like happening and states were falling left or right, some of them right that we really were hoping that weren't going to go right. And a lot of people didn't dig too deep into like what a lot of the numbers mean, or some of the states necessarily, or how they count ballots. And a lot of things weren't looking too good for Biden at some points in time during the night to some people. For me, while I was watching it, I was pretty confident going into the race that Biden was going to win. But lots of people wanted to make sure that people were sad, that people were upset. That people weren't like thinking rationally and were just like mad, right? That gets them watching, that gets them angry. Anger is a really good emotion to farm people from. Sadness, and also sadness, despair, narcissism, these sorts of things, as long as you feel like indignant enough about it, and righteous enough about it, you can also farm people for that as well. And some people are just really misguided in those things. So during that entire night, I was looking at things happening and I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. Like, Biden's going to win this. And the more that the night went on, the more I was like, oh yeah, absolutely, Biden's going to win this. I remember specifically, let me see if I can find this actually. I wanted to show you this because during that night, actually, someone came in and was like, hey Shark, is Biden going to win Wisconsin? I'm like, oh yeah, Biden's absolutely going to win Wisconsin. And then someone made a clip of it. They actually clipped it because they thought that they were going to come back and be like, see this, when Trump won, but obviously he didn't. And lots of people said they were coming to my stream to hear me talk positively about some things that were going on. I think this is something a little bit unique to like left-wing spaces typically. And here's kind of like what I mean is that I really feel like, and it kind of reminded me during, I got reminded of this and like doomerism, that like is pervasive in a lot of these like left-wing spaces when it comes to climate change specifically. When I was on with the Humanist Report, I feel like some people were on there and some people who were like talking in chat and everything, the way that they were talking about climate change was extremely doomer. Extremely doomer. The way that they were like going about it seemed like really, I'm trying to find the correct word for it. Irresponsible for me personally. Because I think it's like vitally important to make sure that we have the correct information going into situations. But I feel like a lot of like lefties really feel indignant. They really feel like powerful about not necessarily fixing problems, but kind of just like critiquing problems and sitting back like up against the wall with their like feet kicked up, like, I told you things suck and nothing's gonna change. Everything's pitted against you and you just have to suffer, and that's it. And that's like basically their entire mode of going about politics, is just they cross their arms and they're like, they like to be like the edgy doomsayer, you know? Where they see problems going on, they see like the duopoly, they see like climate change, they see like people like suffering, right? And instead of like going like, hey, you know, all these things are going on, we can do this, that, and the third, they go, all of these things are going on, it sucks and it's bad, and people are dying and there's nothing, and we're all going to die. Yeah, it's like put on the shades, we're all going to die. And that's basically their entire mode of going about politics, and everything else, every answer that they see is just like they just drown in pessimism, which I think is really bad for turning people into activists, right? Like if you tell a bunch of people everything's shit, everything's garbage, everything's dying and nothing's going to change, well, is that person going to be active in climate change? Is that person going to join the Sunrise Movement? Is that person going to be a part of like a Medicare for All march? Is that person going to do any like real activism? No, they're going to go home, they're going to sit in their bed, they're going to watch like a YouTube channel, they're going to like play a game, and they're going to jerk off and go to bed, and that's it. All right. And the last thing we need is more people who are apolitical, apathetic, or like not involved in any on the ground politics at all. Why in the world would we want that? And that's the only thing that you're creating there. You just want to be the cool, you just want to be like the cool lean back guy who tells everyone that they're going to die, and that's basically it. And that's the only pessimism, and pessimism is the only thing that you have to bring to the table. It's awful, it's garbage. What does it do for the movement? What does that do for any of us? I have an answer for you. The answer is nothing, besides turn people away from actually being involved in politics, and that's what we want. And that sucks. Like you feel like you're doing something, that you feel like you're like, I don't know, giving people like a change or something, or telling it truthfully. When in all actuality, all you're doing is turning a potential activist into like a complete political nihilist, and someone who's not going to be involved in any sort of groundwork to change any of these things. I want to talk about like a couple of things that I see, especially going on. All right, let me talk about like economic. Okay, the economic outlook for a lot of people right now is a little bleak, a little grim, if I do say so myself. Lots of people who have the potential of being kicked out of their homes, lots of bills coming down that seem extremely doomer, and that's awful, and it is really awful. But I think what's really important is being able to couch a lot of these opinions in things that we can do. If you just lay out a bunch of problems to someone's feet, and then you talk about how like almost insurmountable they can be, like, is this person really going to, what will that person do, right? Typically this person will just be like, well, fuck. And I see this a lot, especially when it comes to the parallel I see really greatly is like men's rights spaces. I know, wow, it's Shark talking about men's rights again, but let me like stick with me for like a moment. Okay. I was thinking about this recently, how a lot of like left-wing people in particular, they're on the right track when it comes to like men's issues, right? They're on the right track. They're usually good feminists. They usually understand how patriarchy hurts men. And this is all great and good and epic and even pog, may I say. With that being said, a lot of them talk about these issues, and a lot of them lambast the people who create a lot of these issues, like a lot of the red pillars, a lot of the like MRA types, a lot of the like pickup artists, even that like those people get like skewered, and rightfully so. They're awful in almost every regard, but they don't offer solutions. Okay, so what does that leave guys typically? Where does that leave them? Between people who tell them that the people that they were just listening to are all awful and garbage, and you're like, okay, well that makes sense, sure. And then they're like, what solutions do I have? Like, what do I have? Like, where can you tell me? Can you point me to like a really big, like just as advertised left-wing like men's space? Typically, I can't really think of one off the top of my head. There are spaces that are left-wing that do men's rights, like even this one for the time being, but they're not explicitly on the front of it for men by men to talk about these issues and find actual solutions to problems. Because the solutions are out there. They just usually don't get laid out. Well, what happens? It's these sort of like a dunk videos on like on these sort of like the people like the Sigma male types. I want to be just like John Wick. Okay, I want to be just like my internet father. Oh my gosh, I forgot his fucking name. Keanu Reeves. I want to be just like Keanu Reeves, dude. I'm a Sigma male. I'm quiet, and I'm quiet, and I'm introverted, and I'm scared of commitment, but I'm just like him, bro. I'm just like him. You want to be like that guy, right? And we tell you all the time that those guys who point you in those directions, they're awful, they're terrible, but there's nothing to back that up. My bad. But there's nothing as an alternative to put into that space that people need to learn about life skills, to learn about like relating to people, to learn about like the problems that they have and ways to move into a more healthy direction. So what do? They fall back into they either go back to the people that you told them that were horrible, or they just sit there and rot, right? Because they're caught between two things. People who tell you that one side is awful and then give you like solutions, but you realize that all of these solutions are awful. And now what do? You just kind of sit there, right? And that's not a good way to go forward. That's not a good way to run a better society, right? So when speaking about economics, right? Economic outlook for lots of people looks kind of bad. There are things that you can do about that. If you have the option, I would say for someone, if you have people to talk to, if you have people in your area that can help, one really big thing that hurts a lot of poorer people is they don't have enough time in the day to get the things that they need done to get done, right? You work a really shitty job, and all of a sudden you get home and you don't really want to work that. You don't want to do anything when you get home, right? Your job is terrible. You hate it. You barely get paid for it. You're struggling with bills sometimes, like going paycheck to paycheck. That kind of sucks, right? It takes a lot out of you. Worrying about money takes a lot out of you, and it strains your friendships. It strains your like romantic relationships. It puts strain on like yourself and your health, mental and physical. If you have people that can help, don't be afraid to reach out to people. If you need to get something done, maybe they can help you with chores. Maybe it could be like a ride to work if you're like low on gas or something, or gas money. Like really small things can like add up a little bit, and you can like help each other out. It's a sort of like mutual aid that you can do with the people that are around you, but lots of people don't want to talk. Don't want to ask for help sometimes. Sometimes you feel ashamed for reaching out to the people that you hold closest to you, even the people who you should not feel worried about reaching out to for help. That sucks. For guys, it can be very emasculating. For like other people, sometimes you're like worried about some people kind of like coming in and like ruining what you have going. Sometimes it's important to reach out for help, right? Like if nobody's going to have you, you and your friends and other people in your like immediate space you only have each other, right? So I really suggest you to like reach out. For me personally, I've seen my family do this a lot, that we've had to stay at like friends and family's houses sometimes, or in between houses or something's going on. Friends and family have stayed at this house when they have things going on. We've had like an entire family living here for months on end. And it happens all the time. I've housed people who are like in between houses sometime. Making sure that you can do anything to like stay off the street and keep your bills paid for the people who are around you. I absolutely would suggest like go do it. Or even if you don't like necessarily have like a big friend, maybe even like a coworker that you're close to. Like if you're going to spend any time anywhere, talk to your coworkers, make a friend with a coworker or something. When for one, you would have a friend, and then you would have someone to help you out with some things as well. Getting those small things taken care of, maybe like helping you do the dishes, or like help you like clean up around the house or something. I've done that with people. It can be a really fun sort of like a little bonding moment, right? You spend a little time doing something. Maybe you can help them out as well sometimes, and clean up your plate to maybe be able to have some more time in your day to do something else. Maybe that one thing can be like eating healthier, going to shop and like eating healthier. That would be really great. Having a little bit more time to like actually prepare like a meal or something that isn't like you just go to like a fast food joint and get something for the night, can make you just feel better, right? Like for me personally, one really big thing is I stand all day, okay, when I'm at work. A lot of you guys may stand up all day when you're at work as well, and that sucks, okay? Especially if you guys who stand, all right, and walk, run at work, lift shit, all right, bend over. One really big thing, if you have bad shoes, you're having a bad day, all right? And it's not just a bad day at work, it's a bad day when you get home, it's a bad day when you wake up the next day and have to put those shoes on and realize that your feet are gonna hurt. When your feet hurt, your back hurts. When your back hurts, you are upset. For me personally, I get really mad when I get up when my back hurts and my feet hurt, okay? I get upset. I get like it's just an awful day for me personally. Like sometimes I'll come on the stream and you'll be like, man, Shark feels a little bit different. That's because my shoes are worn out and I feel awful. Okay? I stand up and my feet hurt, my back hurts, and all I want to do is lay down and just like drift away into nothingness. All right, if you have the opportunity to go get some new fucking shoes, okay, go to your local Walmart, and maybe if you can't afford new shoes at the moment, get like new insoles. I have 3 insoles in my shoes right now, okay? I have like a squishy insole, I have wear Yeezys to work. I mean, if you have the option, if you like Yeezys, go ahead, wear them to work. Don't let me stop you. Okay, I'm just a streamer after all.
Dark hog.
I have like 3 insoles. I have like a really squishy insole, I have a memory foam insole, and I have like a dude like over 200-pound like support insole in my work shoes right now. Okay, and you know what, I'm like walking on clouds. It's great. I could stand there all day and it's great, and I come home and I don't feel like absolute garbage. Sometimes that won't fix everything, but fixing anything is better than what's going on right now. Okay, like anything, lean on people who you can lean on. Make friends for people who can lean on you as well. It'd be a small form of mutual aid that you can be able to get through some of the toughest times if things are getting cut close. That have saved some people's lives sometimes. And I don't want anyone here to fall victim to any crimes that basically this country commits against its people by not taking care of them adequately when it comes to their financial situation. When it comes to climate change, I feel a lot of people doom about climate change. Okay, I like what Dylan Burns had to say on the panel when it pertains to specifically climate change. Going about climate change in the way that you look at climate news, you see things get worse, and then you look at the legislature and you see things getting held up, and then you're like, well, it's just kind of over, and it makes you feel really bad. I was feeling this way. I rarely things like when I turn off stream, rarely things like follow me. All right. But when they do, they follow me hard. Like going a little like more into like the climate change like doomerism I saw from other people kind of like followed me hard for a little while, because it sucks that other people like really feel that way. For me personally, my optimism that I show for you guys is not a game. I actually do feel very optimistic. People are very creative and we can overcome a lot. And this is no different. Just because it's on a larger scale does not mean that we cannot overcome it, right? And we are in a great position to be able to do that. I think the left is in a really good position, personally, when it comes to our political activism. This is probably the most amount of power in legislative office that we have right now. Lots of people, and this is a really big thing, lots of people when they look at politics, especially in America, what they look at is federally and globally. Even you think you can touch shit federally and globally? That's a joke. What are you doing? Genuinely, what are you doing? Why are you looking at all this news about like climate change doomerism from all across the world? What the fuck are you going to do about that? What? Genuinely ask yourself, what are you going to do? Why are you stressing yourself out about something that you cannot touch? You know what you can touch? Your city council. You can touch your local neighborhood. Those are things that you can touch. Talking to your city council. Organizing on the ground with either a sunrise movement or like DSA or something along those lines, or like BLM even. They do some work. Being able to go to those meetings if you have the opportunity to. Talking to other people around you about like the importance of like climate change. Those things are really big. At the end of the day, like power comes from roots, the grassroots, okay? And the flowers and the petals and the bloomage that we see from like the federal office and across the globe comes from specifically at the end of the day, you. It's you who does it, all right? And if you're not doing anything, if you're not working, well, the people in the power, they're going to keep working for their own interests, and those interests are not yours. Those interests are a lot of the times not the planet's. There are 70 companies that produce the vast majority of today's CO2 emissions. That's not many companies, though. Now they're very powerful, but at the end of the day, and no matter who wants to tell you, they don't run elections. That doesn't happen. They don't conduct elections, they don't count elections, and they can lose elections just as easily as they can win them. All you have to do is put in the legwork to make sure that they do it, or else the status quo is them and their hegemony. That's how that works. So we don't have any time to sit idly by. We don't have any time to be doomer about these sorts of things, because at the end of the day, that's what they want. They want you to feel doomer. They want you to feel upset. They want you to feel helpless. They want you to feel powerless, because as long as you feel powerless, they are powerful. They get to fill their pockets with as much money as possible until they get to run away with the bag before it's too late. At the end of the day, looking at all those problems does you no good. It only makes you really upset. Right? It really does. It only really makes you more upset. Look at things that you could change yourself, because small changes add up. Making sure that you vote in your local elections adds up. Making sure that you talk to your city council, talk to other people around you, adds up. Doing some canvassing on the groundwork adds up. Because it's not just it, even though it isn't just you, there are more people. The more people who do it, the more powerful we become. We are in a great position with left-wing activists in office right now who can change things for the better. And we can save this place as long as we have the willpower to do so. That's all we really need. It's in our grasp. We can do it. I 100% believe in us. And we've been seeing so much action that some people didn't even think was possible going on right now. And even at this very moment, when it comes to the Biden's infrastructure bill, we have people in office because of that left-wing power. We have people in office to ensure that no bill goes forward without any real climate change addressal in it. And that makes me hopeful for the future. And seeing you guys here makes me hopeful for the future. And that's why I'm hopeful for you guys. Not only because I think it's a responsible thing to do, to tell you the truth, but also couch it in some sugar. Lots of people talk bad about sugarcoating. I think at the end of the day, a little bit of sugar does indeed help the medicine go down. If that means you're taking your pills, your normal pills, then I am 100% happy to do it. And I think it's like morally acceptable. You are morally obligated to do that, because that makes activists, that makes impassioned people to take that anger, take that rage, and not use it for just nihilism and pessimism and just being upset, and takes it into actual work to make this planet a better place. And I'd love to see that more. When it comes to like political doomerism, once again, stop looking at the federal level. You can rarely touch that. Look at your municipality. Like, what can you do there? Hey, I mean, like I said, I'm in talks with like some activist groups around here. I'd really love to get some more public transit done. Not only does public transit help cut down with CO2 emissions, it also helps a lot of people make sure that they can get to and from work. I live in a relatively safe city. I mean, it's really not bad. And there are more like, heroin overdoses than shootings, which, that's good. And there are more people getting hit by cars than shootings as well. And lots of those people who get hit by cars and die are people walking on the side of the road, because we don't have any damn sidewalks around here. So people walk in the street and can easily get clipped, get hit by cars. And lots of those people are elderly and they just kind of die. And that sucks, because we don't have any real public transport, and we are suffering from suburbanitis, where everything is like 10-mile radius in a circle, all like dots and spread out with like forests in between, and just like, it's awful. It's literally awful. It's terrible. Okay. I do not live within walking distance of of like a store or anything where I can go like buy some stuff. It's like I gotta drive there, or like nothing else is happening. Okay. And it's like a 5-minute ride or more sometimes. And that's just like, that's unacceptable. It is unacceptable. That's something that you can change on your local level. You can do that. Your voice matters a lot there. And you'd be very surprised, even if you live in a very conservative district, how much people can kind of agree, as long as you have like single issues that they would be a part of. As a lot of local Republicans aren't as fucking crazy as federal Republicans are. I know for a fact, I've worked with a couple of them. They're not too bad. They're a little cringe, but they're a lot better from what we see typically. I really think that it's important to make sure that you look realistically at problems, but also do not just look at problems, look at solutions. Making sure that you contextualize, have a little bit of nuance to your political understanding, helps stop you from falling down the rabbit hole of just nothing will change, everything is bad, everything's going to be terrible, and we can't really do anything about it. Because if you do that, then nothing really will change. Because at the end of the day, if power comes from you and you don't think that anything will change, and you don't vote, and you don't go out and do any activism, you don't go any marches, you don't show like your political power, well, guess what? Someone's going to pick up that power and do something unscrupulous with it. And we know what that would typically mean. So use it. Use your power. Use your influence. Use your voice. Use your feet. Get out there and make a change, okay? Because even if it means that there are some things that we will miss, we have a lot of challenges going into the future, and some will pass and some will fail. But if we all believe that we're going to fail all of them, well, guess what? We're going to fail all of them. A really interesting study that I saw at one point in time was about how if you tell someone that they're going to fail at something, there's a much higher likelihood that they will fail at something. They did a study when it comes to a standardized test. So they had a bunch of people in the room. They had the control group, and then they had the group that they told that were going to fail the test. Like, you'll do poorly on this test. Like, you just aren't cut out for this test. You'll fail. That group of people who were told that they were not going to do well, who told that they were going to fail, those people did far worse than the people who had no influence, or even the people who were told that they were going to do well. Well, that doesn't just translate to the standardized test, that translates to the real world as well. If you tell yourself and you tell other people that everything's going to be shit and garbage, well, they're kind of going to believe it, and they're going to internalize that. Don't let that happen. We can do a lot of work in the future, and I'm very proud of what we've been able to do so far. I'm very excited about what we can do in the future, because we can make a change. We're in opportune position to make a change, and I don't want to miss it for the world. I don't want to figure out going into the future things that we could have done, things that we would have done, things that we should have done. I want to talk about things that we did do and can do and will do. That's how we make a change in the world. All right. So pick your fucking boots up. All right. Stop doomering. Stop. It's garbage. Nobody wants to hear your bitch ass moan about shit. Okay. And hop on the bus and let's start actually making a change in the world. All right.